Okay, hello. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Howard. I'm the partner of the company.
Awesome. Are you Taiwanese? Where are you
I'm
from?
not Taiwanese. I'm from Myanmar. I'm an international student.
Oh, cool. Is this your first year or?
It is my first year, right?
Nice.
Yeah, I've been here for like 8 months. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like it here?
Yeah, it's pretty nice here. I mean, I love the atmosphere here. The days and whatnot. It's pretty good. And it's very convenient in Taiwan. I love the convenience about Taiwan.
Awesome.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Elise. I come from France and I'm a student in MBA.
Okay, excellent. How do you like Taiwan? What do you think about it?
I love Taiwan. I've been here for a few years already, so yeah, I enjoy this country.
Excellent. I am sure everybody will be happy to hear that. So today I'm going to ask you some very simple questions.
Right.
First of all, have you ever heard of IPCC and what it is?
IPCC. Nope, I've never heard of IPCC.
No? So look,
I don't think I have.
IPCC is basically the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's a body of the UN that basically tries to advance scientific knowledge in terms of climate change.
Okay.
Yeah. They recently came up with a report. It's the 6th edition, where it talks about climate change, how humans have affected like what's going on,
Right.
and propose some solutions.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Awesome.
sounds interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can check it out.
Okay. Yeah.
I do. This is intergovernmental on climate change.
Yeah, intergovernmental panel on
On climate change. Oh yeah.
And what is it?
This is a group of scientists. They make a report on climate change and they give the report to the certain governments to help them to make the decision on climate, how they make the policy due the crisis we are facing.
Yeah.
我理解是它就是联合国下面的一个组织，然后它就是负责一些气候变迁的事情，然后会提供联合国一些意见。
它提供各国家的政策。
It's a conference in UN, I think. Yeah, I just listened a speech about it. Yeah, by a friend.
Oh, by a friend.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
So basically, IPCC stands for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
Okay.
It's basically a body of the UN that focuses on advancing scientific knowledge regarding climate change.
Okay.
Quite recently, they came up with the 6th edition of a report where they assess like the effects of climate change on the world, what people can do, and the undeniable effect that people are having on our planet.
Okay.
You can take a look at it.
Okay.
Excellent. Have you ever heard of COP? And you know what it is?
No.
Have you ever seen on the news like COP27 in Egypt last year or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I might have, but I don't think I recognized any.
Okay,
Like
so-
it might have just slipped out of my eyes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically an international climate meeting held every year, and it's hosted by the UN.
Oh yeah, I think I might have like caught it on the news or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have too big of like a profession on it. You know, it's like one of those things. You know, just
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so on your perspective, you would say that since you don't even know too much about it, maybe its impact is not that big, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, only after I got to Taiwan, like I realized like the climate change impact. I mean, because from where I'm from, we do have some form of impact, but it's not too big. You know, it's not to a point where it's like here in Taiwan, sometimes it's like 27 degrees, and then the next day it drops down to 7.
Yeah.
You know, it's not hot like this, but you know, there's some form of climate change, and I know what's going on, but it's never to a point where like you know, like it's never went.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a few things about climate change, but not a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Fair.
it's like the average person.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, the COP is a meeting of the different countries.
Exactly. It's stands for Conference of Parties. Exactly.
COP 23, like 23, 24 is like
Yes.
according to the years, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's actually not according to the years.
Not? Okay.
No. So actually, the last year we had COP 27 and it was in Egypt.
Ah, okay. I thought it was according to the years.
Okay, and
就是一个也是跟 IPCC 有点像，但是它就是国家为单位，就是各个国家会聚在一起开会，然后也是讨论 climate change 的事情，是吗？大概是。
And you want to add something?
I just know the name of this is conference of parties.
Yeah, conference.
It's about conference of many countries.
Yeah, many countries.
They decide.
And they discuss about climate change issue.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
So COP is a conference of parties, and its main idea is to discuss the climate change between the countries. Yes, and it will provide some policy suggestion for the policymaker or some president or government. Have you ever been concerned about climate change?
Yeah.
And you can explain more?
Because I have a friend. He really likes animals and plants, just in general. Yeah, and he likes to take photos of it or just simply observe it. And he's afraid of if the climate change too dramatically, they will disappear. Yeah. So that's his concern.
Yes, I do because it's hotter and hotter in each summer. It's colder and colder in each winter. So we feel like just like the fan. It's just like every 1 year. We can live in extreme weather. So winter weather is extreme. We can live. We cannot have enough food to supply our nation. Something like that.
觉得 climate change 就是我自己会比较在意的是它会造成很多饥饿的问题，那可能让很多地方的养殖作物没办法正常的生长，供应就是每一个人都可以有足够的食物。
Well, I think climate change is a big deal, right? Like it can affect humanity. Like when I was younger, say when I was like 15, 16, during my high school years, I thought it'd be something that would affect us really hard by like the next 30 or 40 years. But it's not something that I thought that I would experience very harshly during my life. Because I thought it would be something that would affect harder on like the next generation or the next generation. Okay. But as the years progress, I feel like I know that some places are sinking, like Maldives. Maldives is sinking. Milan is sinking and all that. So I was like, it's actually progressing much faster than I thought it would. Because when I was younger, I thought it would be something that would happen in a very far distant future, and now it's becoming more of like a present.
and it's
So
happening now.
Yeah. So that's how I feel about climate change.
Okay, excellent.
I think it's very important that this organization happens because for climate change, it can't be only one country that makes a change. It has to be every country. But at the same time, it's a bit complicated because some countries are more developed, so they care more about environmental problems and everything, and some other countries that can't afford too much to care about this. Like I don't know how to explain, but it's like not the same level of I can care about this issue and I can afford about this issue. So it's a bit different in terms of those countries, but at the same time it's good that at least they meet and talk about this all together.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Let's see. My third question is regarding: have you ever been concerned about climate change?
Yeah, of course. Since we are very young, we've been taught that climate change is a a big deal, it's a big issue, it concerns everyone. And I learned this at school as well when I was super young. And right now, the more I grow old, the more I see myself the impact of climate change. Whether it's the climate that is like warmer or colder or like that is a bit like different compared to 10 years ago, for example, or also with the documentaries that I can see, for example, with the ice that is melting, everything, you can see really the difference between like 10 years ago and right now. So yes, I think it doesn't really impact me personally in my life, but I think it impacts the world in general, and yeah, probably in the future it will impact us even more. Yeah.
Have you ever act for climate or act for our planet?
Yeah, I think so. For example, I do my best to not use the one-time chopstick. I don't know what that's called, but just that one time. You only use it one time. Yeah. And plastic bags, I just do my best to not use them. But yeah, I just do my best. Yeah. And like turn off the light, turn off the AC. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Or I usually ride bike. I don't have a license to drive, but yeah, I do my best to just ride a bike if I can.
Do you want to do more things? Maybe like just arouse other people's awareness about climate change or about protect our planet?
Arouse other people.
Yes.
Yeah, I do my best to tell my friend to like do anything. Yeah.
The fourth question is, have you ever discussed this issue with your friends and any relevance?
Yeah, I have discussed with him.
And I discuss it.
Okay, we have discussed in just what theme or what concern you are.
I just talk about with him about the water supply in North Taiwan and the shortage in South Taiwan. How can we transport some water from the north to south? How can they collect water in the south? How can they store the water in the south? Something like that. And other ways, turning the seawater into drinking water is efficient. What's gonna mean on that?
Turn just the facility for
Yeah,
turning salt water, seawater to
drinking water.
yeah.
觉得，关于 climate change，我觉得平常或多或少是有在关注，但是刚刚还是听你讲说，原来国际上还有这个组织，然后我们可以怎样去知道现在国际上在做什么，然后那我们可以怎么去把我们自身在地的一些东西，然后怎么去做起来，然后是把一些国际上面比较好的想法，怎么去把它带进来，这样。
Very rarely, I think, but I think I have. We've talked about like just on, but just very superficially. No,
Okay.
no, not in depth to a point where like we might discuss about like a certain aspect or like we've discussed about like the ice glaciers melting, the polar bears losing their habitats, losing prey, and all that. But just very superficial. I don't think we've gone very in depth on it.
Okay.
Yes, we have talked about, I have talked about this with my friends or families, but it's more like, I wish we could all be more careful or whatever, but it's not like a revolutionary discussion that will change the world. Like at our scale, I think we can't do really much, but if we still do a little bit of our own scale, it's at least a better impact for the world.
Of course, every little bit counts and then it adds up.
Exactly. But even though, of course, at our own scale, we can think we can't do that much, but I think if we do at least a little bit, it's already good for us.
Excellent, excellent. I agree. Well, thank you very much for your time, and